Hello. Welcome to the Payroll Workbench WOWs webinar. It's 1 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first, I want to just welcome you and thank you for spending some time today with us. I'm going to be sharing Payroll Workbench functionality that might go unnoticed or unused. And I am Tammy Castro. I'll be introducing myself in a minute here so you can see I'm a live person. But first, I wanted to just invite those of you that are present. I know many times you're doing a webinar and you're multitasking. We try to make our webinars very interactive. So I encourage you to pay attention when we do our polls. Polls help us to get to know you better, and we can also share with all of you so you know what the answers were as far as percentages. Everything you share is not shared publicly across this webinar. So I know sometimes you get fearful to put something in the chat, not sure where it's going to go, but it will go to us here who are running the webinar. And I'm going to introduce my team here in just a second. Okay, so that's me, Tammy. This is Deanna, my partner in crime, who is also on this call helping to take care of the questions that might come in and put the polls up. And then Raghu is also one of our leaders in our organization. These are just the leaders that we have, but pretty strong team, very blessed to have them. And let me just see if I can technically share my video here so I can say a quick hi. Hello.
Hey, I see you.
So I'm live from North Carolina. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and happy to be with you all today. I won't be sharing my face the whole time because of challenges sometimes with the internet. Plus, for me, it's distracting. So anyway, I just wanted to say hey, and I'll turn that back off. And all right. So I want to start by doing a poll, and I do want to let you know that we love doing polls. And we're going to start with just where are you from? Deanna will kick that off for you. You should see something on your screen. This is also kind of like a test poll, so you can see how it works. And if you have questions, you can put it in the chat. Deanna will address those. But what we like to know is where are you from today? I believe we have maybe someone from Canada. We've got some from the Southwest, but where are you at today? And Deanna is going to let us know what those results come in at.
Yeah, we've got some votes for Canada, some votes for the Midwest so far, and from the West Coast.
So we're spanning all over. That's always fun. Well, we're over in the Southeast, Deanna and I. So Deanna, you want to pop in and say hi so they know who's answering these things?
Yeah, hi. I'm Deanna Johnston. I'm in North Carolina with Tammy, and one of the lead HCM consultants and project managers for our company. And I've done the last 2 webinars, if you guys have attended, so you might recognize my voice.
Yes. And I can't tell if you're showing yourself. So that was my thing, is like, hey, say hey. All right. So also I encourage you guys, feel free to use the emojis, little applause, maybe a smiley face or something. I get to see those and those make me happy. All right. So a little bit about me. I know some that are on this call, I actually know, some I don't. But I wanted to just say, hey, you saw me already live, a little bit more. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, or thereabouts. Married 18 years, and I recently found a new hobby in baking and painting and redecorating rooms. So I took some pictures, shared some pictures that I've had. And the other thing is, I'm a fan of the Great British Baking Show. So I could talk about that this whole hour, but there is Paul Hollywood. If you've ever watched it, he's kind of easy on the eyes. So I'm excited here. Anyway, painting at my mom's, and then here's a loaf of sourdough bread, which is one of my favorites to make, learning still. So sometimes you'll, experience mistakes on that. But that's a little bit about me. I want to continue. We got a couple more questions we're going to be going through, but how familiar are you with the JD Edwards Payroll Workbench? It helps me to know the audience, and it might be interesting for you to know who's also attending and how familiar they are. I will say this may sound like a very generic question, but we've made it fun. The answers that are for you to select are kind of funny. So go ahead and do that. And while you're doing that, Deanna, just yell when you've got
Yeah.
the full number. But I will tell you a little bit about our services and what sets us apart as an organization. I do believe we are the only JDE HCM focused consulting firm. I have lots of partners out there that might offer it, but this is all we do. So this means our HCM expertise is current and innovative, and our focus is your advantage if you're one of our clients. So here's some of the consulting services. I mean, I don't know if there's anything we've been offered to do or asked to do that we haven't as far as types of projects. So we've got everything from, the implementation to troubleshooting to training and migrations. Integrations has been a big, heavy one lately. Also, because we are HCM specialized, we offer a managed services, which is strictly focused on the HCM aspect of it. And you can see that on our website. And I do want to just jump out here real quick to the website. And I'm on the services page, but you can find all this information here and what the various options are for our packages for managed services. So I encourage you to go take a look when you've got a few minutes.
It looks like
Okay.
everybody voted. We've got most people are very familiar, like best of friends, and then some people are somewhat familiar. But it seems like nobody's a stranger to the payroll workbench that's on this webinar right now.
Okay. Excellent. Gives me some good context. Okay, so this is one thing I wanted to make everybody aware of. Obviously, if you're on this call, you are probably using JD Edwards HR Payroll, or at least the payroll aspect. We have our proprietary JDE HCM Resource Hub, which I'm not going to read through all of these, but there is tons of information out there. And you don't have to pay to register. I'm going to be referring to our hub as we go through this presentation, because some of the teachings I'm doing here are available for free on the hub. So I will just quickly tell you, we've got the HCM Bites. These are free. They're little videos, teaching videos, 5 to maybe 15 minutes, depending on the topic. We've actually got our own HCM Bootcamp courses that we have used to certify our consultants, but also to help our clients who maybe want to learn more, have a more structured learning tool. And so we've got that. We've got knowledge assessments. How well do your users, or do you know how to, use the system? This, is a cool way to kind of grade yourself on that. So I'm going to quickly skip out there as well, just to show you what it looks like. So here's the cute little landing page that we have. When you sign in, initially it'll require you to register. Again, it's free, but I'm logging in as if I was someone with the free subscriptions. So here's the HCM Bites here, clicking on that. Here's all, there's, I think, over 20 of these little teachings that are free. And then we've got some things that are subscription based, including the boot camps. So there's all this information out there. I just wanted to have a look because we were just super excited to be able to take the things we've got in folders and put them in a meaningful resource location for our clients. Okay, so moving
on. I've gone ahead and put the link to the hub in the chat. So I think everyone should see that and grab it there.
Thank you, Deanna. All right, so our best time savers for the payroll workbench. Y'all, this payroll workbench does a ton of stuff. You know it. There's like columns going on forever. There's information there. And I thought, well, I want to grab the things that I find most useful that might be overlooked. So the review messages, purging the messages, journal review, changes only, and payment review. Those will be our topics today that I'm honing in on, especially the last two, changes only and payment review, because I think there are some things that are available that, I don't know, maybe you're not aware. So we'll talk through those. And just in case you're wondering, but it doesn't sound like it based on the poll we did, this is the payroll workbench. Hopefully you can see this well enough. I know it's never easy on these presentations. That's why I'll go into the live system and try to zoom a little bit. If you're having any issues hearing me or seeing things, please put it in the chat. Deanna will let me know. All right. So I will be going over the functionality in this actual PowerPoint presentation, but I'll also be going back and forth into a demo system to demonstrate. Just wanted to set the expectation. You know, you never know what to expect with these things, but we will be doing a lot of demo. But I do want to start with a couple more polls to get to know our audience, and then we're going to dive in. Again, the answers are kind of fun, so check them out. Deanna, you want to go ahead and throw this one out there? Who gets interrupted during payroll processing? I've been consulting long enough to know that this is 100% yes, you get interrupted. But it's fun to hear maybe what those interruptions are. And, it's just the nature of doing payroll. I think people who do payroll are very caring, nurturing people because, y'all put up with a lot. So I'm going to let you answer that here for a moment because I got one following it right up.
Yeah, the answers are rolling in. Of course, the options are me all the time. I added one that says I'm being interrupted now, actually, which nobody's chosen yet, which is great. The one for not me, we have great policies in place. Nobody's chosen that. I guess that's the dream. So it's a little bit, almost half and half of all the time. And then people saying, I imagine our payroll team is interrupted a lot.
Okay, great. Let's look at this next one. How often do you actually use the payroll workbench? So you specifically, how often are you using it?
Okay, the poll is live. So we've got some votes coming in for weekly, daily right now. A lot of weeklies.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of weekly. So pretty often, it sounds like. Pretty
One vote
frequently.
for I'm just here to learn.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we're going to dive into the first topic, which is payroll messages. And I'd love to, just where I could do polls through the whole thing because I'm curious how many of you are using payroll messages. You can feel free to put this in the chat if you like. But I'm going to show you here how to access the payroll messages on screenshots, but we will be accessing the system to show you. But basically, once you're on the payroll workbench, you go from the row. Again, as most of you know, you can right click. I go ahead and use the row so I can show you clearly. You're going to grab pre-payroll and then review the messages. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a client and they didn't even know what this was. So I hope you guys know what it is, but if you don't, that's why you're here. So here's some examples of what could come up. This is going into the screen that I just clicked on. But for me, I put an asterisk where the payroll ID is, which then lets me see everything. Okay, so for all the payroll IDs, who is the user, and then what is the description of the message? Now, remember, these aren't errors, these are messages. This is a summarized view of it. But if we unclick, I should say, the summarized, you're going to see actual details. So it allows you to see more columns. You can see it by employee, and then you're going to see the description of what is the message about? Okay, so it tried to give you a summarized name. Employee deduction not taken are the ones we're seeing. Employee had unprocessed interim. But if you want to screenshot this next screen, here's the possible payroll messages and what their explanations are. So this is a good little cheat sheet. And I will tell you, I use this all the time because I don't have these memorized. One of the favorites that comes up for some reason on some of the clients we work with is job does not qualify. Well, that doesn't tell me much. I appreciate the effort, but what does it mean? So here's a description. These following conditions probably are what's causing it. In this case, pay start date entered for the employee is after the pay period ending date for the payroll cycle. So they're getting pulled in, but their job is not active yet for them. Also, a pay stop date has been entered for the employee, and this date is before the beginning date of the payroll cycle. So I guess that was the best description they could come up with. But the other one that's important is terminated employee has been paid. I mean, all of these, if you're receiving them, are worth understanding. And we're going to look at some of these in a minute, but the terminated employee has been paid. This is a really good one because maybe, yeah, you need your terminated employees to get their final paycheck and you've already marked them as terminated and they're being pulled in. Or maybe that's a restriction. You don't want them to ever come in the regular payroll. So if you see this message, you know, hey, I've got to go do something here. So before I leave this screen here, any questions? Again, you can put these in the chat, and Deanna can let me know. But I know Deanna, you're great about letting me know if questions come in. But
Yep, no questions yet.
okay, well, let's move on to say here's a few things I want you to be aware of with the messages. First of all, they do not disappear themselves. You need to delete them. We'll be covering that next. That's the next topic. This can be done individually or as a group. And if they're not cleaned up, the old messages from previous runs of payroll will show up. And if security permits, you can view all the messages from all payroll IDs at once, which is the view I just showed you. We'll look at some of this when I go in and demo it, but just wanted you to be aware. Additionally, out on our hub, there is an 8-minute free video on payroll messages. So feel free to go out and she already sent the link, but you can register for free. And this is another view of the same topic. All right, so we're moving on to the next topic before I demo, because I'm doing them both at the same time once we access the system. But the purge payroll messages, I think, is missed as well if you're using messages. And by the way, there's not necessarily, you don't set to determine if you're going to get messages or not. They're just in there. So purging them, hey, how do you do it? When you're in the screen for the payroll messages, you can delete them here with the little delete guy, or you go to form, purge messages. And if you choose this option, you're literally given this little screen that wants the payroll ID and the from and through date, so you have more control. If you're a smaller firm, you probably don't need to use this. You can just do it here. But if you've let these build up forever, you might want to use this. So why do we need to purge the old messages? Really, there's just no need to have old messages in the file. It can cause confusion. Obsolete records clutter up the table. And keeping your message queue cleaned is best practice to avoid obsolete data. And why waste space? Keep your system green. I know, and I'll show you an example of how this can confuse somebody right now. Actually, we're going to go out there into the system. I'm already logged in. Okay, so I'm at the payroll workbench. And we're going to take a look at the messages in this payroll ID iAM hourly. Okay, I see job does not qualify. Again, I want to see who's this about. So we've got the employee information, and I look at this and I'm a little suspicious. So you guys, there's only 3 of them, so we can remember, right? We got a Clum, a Flanagan, and a Mickey Mouse. I'm going to go back out here, go into my payroll, go to payment review. Well, I don't see any of those names here. I'm going to hit all payments just to make sure we've got everybody. But these aren't even the folks in there. And if this was interactive, I would ask you the question, or if I was training you, I'd say, so why do you think that is? But since I'm doing the training today, I will tell you, basically, right, these are old. And they just didn't get cleaned up. So this was in a payroll run. Here it's going to give you the job type in question. So there's a lot more detail on this screen when you open this up. So let me clear this. Let me just first take a look at everything. Okay, so these again are all payroll IDs because I put the asterisk there. Trying to see if we've got anything different. All right, so we've got an auto pay time card in error. We have an unprocessed interim, terminated employees being paid, employees locked in another payroll. And then it'll give some helpful information so you can hopefully resolve what's happening. Gives you the date term. So not all columns are filled out for every record. It's just the columns that would apply to what the error is or what the message is. See, there I go. I call it an error. It's not always an error. It's a message. So let me go back to iAM. Is that the one? No. See, I'm forgetting what it is. iAM hourly. All right, let's go to these messages and I'll just show you what it looks like as far as purging. We'll just purge this one. Now I could do it really easy because it's small with the trash can. But instead I'm going to do the purge so you can see what it looks like. Hopefully you guys can see that okay.
Yep, I can see it fine. So they should.
Let's see, I'm forgetting. Let's see if we've got help. iAM hourly. And doesn't give any other information. I would just note for you that I'm going to delete all the messages pertaining to all of history. I'm assuming this will cover. And then we'll go to what is today? 18.
18th. Yep.
Right. Let's see. So it says you're about to delete all the error record. They're calling it error records. Messages for the payroll ID. Do you wish to continue? Okay. And they're gone. So, all right. Simple, not too complicated. We're starting small. We'll build on it. All right. So demoed that. What I want to talk about now are the time-saving advantages of messages. That's what this webinar is all about. So how are we saving time? You're aware of possible issues quickly. If any of these are issues, it's going to open your eyes to it, right? So quickly ensure the arrearages are working. That's another really great tool because you're going to get, hey, employee deductions went into arrears. Also, you can verify terminated employees are getting paid if they're valid or not, and you can take care of those. Avoid the need to perform corrections later by finding them here. Okay. And then also you can identify some configuration issues possibly. So one of the errors had to do with the calculation tables. And if they aren't in the FO 7901. And then this will allow you to track the employees whose deductions did not calculate for future collection, if not using arrearages. I have seen this be real helpful where the payroll supervisor or the person running the payroll will actually export this for all the deductions not taken, and then they can track in a spreadsheet if you're not using arrearages, like who owes. So that's another helpful tool. All right, so how we doing here? We got review messages and purge messages done. We still got journal review, changes only, and payment review to go. So our next topic is journal review. This one's going to be quick, but before we do this, I want to ask, because we know our attention spans need to be woken every now and then. It's been 20 minutes or so. So what is your method for troubleshooting your journals? I'm curious to know. So Deanna will throw that out there. Again, there's many ways you can troubleshoot. I threw in the ones that I felt were used most. And so if I don't capture yours, maybe throw it in the chat or just grab the one closest to what works for you.
Yep. So we've got some answers rolling in. Most people are saying they use the R05229 output and search in the PDF. Some people do use the tables directly. And then depending on the issue, it's a combination of all three are the biggest answers right now. Although we did just have someone say, use the Payroll Workbench journal reviews. So it's a little bit of all of the answers.
Okay, that's great. Well, I'll tell you one thing. When this came out, and this is how long I've been doing this, right? Because it's been out forever. But when it did come out, I was super excited because there was, troubleshooting was its own journey. And to get to the records, we know there's a detail table and there's a summarized table. And then how are you running your journals? Are you running them in detail or, all these things? So basically reviewing your journals and for some payroll departments, it's not their responsibility. Hey, if there's no error, I'm just shooting it over to, it becomes finance responsibility. But first I'll show you just in the screenshot, accessing it. Obviously you have to have journals run. There needs to be a 1 here to see anything. Don't get the mistake I did one day where I was out here, where are they? Well, it wasn't run. But there's journal summary and journal detail. So let's go ahead and go out to the system. And I've got one down here that I ran for semi-test. And I'll start by looking at the summary. And again, summary could be, they're going to roll everything up based on the accounts and the document type and a number of these values actually in this table. But this is a great way to come in here. You can look at the totals at the bottom. So if you scroll all the way down, you're going to see your debit amount, your credit amount, total. Excuse me. Let me get a sip of water. You can also, look if you're trying to figure out a time card that went bad or something, what's happening. You can come in here to look at just the T1s. And then again, it retotals it for you. So you've got your totals here for your T1s and the details in the account for this. But where I find most helpful is in the details. So as you are probably aware, I could do an entire webinar and then some on how to troubleshoot journals. We don't have time for that today, but I do want to point out that you can come in here, and if you've got your records in detail, you can come out here and look up the DBAs that you're trying to make sure are reporting correctly. Additionally, I've done this so many times where I've been able to come out here and search on the amount because maybe there's an amount that you're off or isn't working out in your journals and it's an error. The R05229 is great for doing the, use the search button and look up the word error and see if there's any errors. But this is where I would come to actually troubleshoot any errors because you can look up all kinds of information and whittle it down to who are the employees that have the issue. But we're not always having to say there's issues, but you can come out here and see your totals as well.
One question that we did have was if you could see the employee number on this, and you just, yes, the answer is yes, and you just scrolled past it, but I did see the address number there.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, if I were you, like I made this one so I could see the DBA closer, create your own version of it, bring that address number into the party over here so you don't have to scroll so far.
Yeah, grid customization. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, this is super helpful. And like I said, we could, these journal error numbers, I was looking at this earlier, truthfully, and I'm like, why are they calling that error? Maybe an error code comes in here. I'd have to test some things. But your journal type, this is a fringe and this is a burden. I mean, once you know these and how it ties to your AAIs for payroll, you can do some pretty cool troubleshooting. But again, I don't have time to dig into all of that. I wanted to at least show you this is here because if you're savvy enough, you can come out and play around with it. You can even export this. There is an export button if you find that helpful.
Question from chat is, does this disappear after, does it stay through till final update? Does it disappear after final update?
Yes, it clears out after final update. Once you come in here, as soon as these journals are wiped out, like even if I reset the journals, they are going to go away. If I, clear that out. So you're only going to see values if there's a 1 here. So once final update happens, the 1 clears, the table clears. Good questions. Thank you. Makes me so happy. All right. So again, I actually did this other in-depth training that is out on our hub. And this one does show how it's got some like built-in errors, and I show you how to go find them. So maybe check that one out if you're trying to learn more. And hey guys, go ahead and feel free to put it in the chat. We love any ideas of other webinars we can do that you guys would find helpful. So
one more quick question on that screen was, what should payroll be looking for in that table?
oh my gosh, that's a wide open question. It really is because yeah, it's not a simple.
I know that I've typically helped use it when they're looking at that PDF, right? The RO5229, and there's an error, and then they're like, how do we figure out where this is? And then I come out to the detail because you can actually type in, the account number that had the error and narrow it down, right? To help figure out which person or people, maybe it's multiple, are impacted. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. That's a good one. There's just so many ways you can use it. Again, like you said, Deanna, if you're in the details, right, and you've got your R05229, which is your journal, report, then it depends how you have it, how you're running it. One tip is if you have issues, I always go back and rerun it in full detail, but it takes longer. But you can actually pull up the amounts, like I was mentioning before, the amounts or whatever account is in error. Sometimes the account doesn't exist, so you don't know what is the error. So it really depends on the error. But as a payroll, I guess, what is your responsibility today would be my question back, because if you're responsible for making sure your journals are in balance, it's a matter of, okay, go to the R05229, put in the word error, make sure all the numbers at the very, very bottom add up, because they add them and show you if there's a difference. But these tables or these views are super helpful for troubleshooting.
Yeah, one user said, asking because they missed the fact that the T2s were missing completely, but there was no error per se.
Yeah. Well, your T2s are your labor distribution, so maybe those are getting posted daily, so they won't be there. You're only going to get T1. See, this is why we need to probably do a webinar on journals. But I don't want to shortcut you on today's topic, so I'm going to keep moving forward. But thank you for the questions, because it is generating like great conversation, and it's making me think journals will be another good one. Okay, so So what are the time-saving advantages of the journal review? Again, verifying your totals without needing to access the reports necessarily. You can identify your errors easily through the filters, and those were some of the things we just talked of. If you see something that didn't line up, you can search in the QBE line. You can also export this if needed for further analysis. And you can, I just love that you can see the details and the summary in seconds. Like you go out there and boom, it's there. You don't have to go to the report. I mean, gone are the days where I have to take that PDF and find a way to get it into an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, and you can easily look up the values. Yeah, values, DBAs, taxes, and accounts, all those things you can use the QBE line for. All right, so our next topic is changes only. And so, of course, we're going to have a poll. Hello, who is using the changes only feature in the payroll workbench? I'm very curious who uses this.
I've launched the poll.
Okay. Sometimes, and I'm going to wait for the results before I really continue, but sometimes, hello, you're just waiting for them to submit your timesheets, huh? Who can experience that, relate with this?
Well, we've got answers across the board so far. Several people say, yes, we use it. At least one person has said, no, what is it? And then a lot of people actually do not use it, but want to start using it. So that's awesome. I'll publish that result.
So what is changes only? Great. I can answer this for the person who doesn't really know. So after you run pre-payroll, where you've got all the calculations that occur, right, you could possibly find out that you need to make some adjustments to some employee data because things didn't come out the way you expected. So instead of resetting the entire payroll, and I am making an assumption that you know what that means, you know, you can actually start, you can do it right there. Utilize the changes only process, go make the correction, and it just makes it simpler and you don't lose the time it would require you to reset, especially if you've got a large payroll. When you run that reset, sometimes that can take, the reset alone could take half an hour. I don't know how big your payrolls are. So changes only let you update the employee, the data you need to, and then rerun just them. So here are some things that will trigger a changes only. And again, I'm going to go in and demo some things because I have a funny story about, changes only in my career. But if you revise employee information, such as their home company or business unit, annual salary, hourly rate, marital status, if you revise their time cards, and if you revise their DBAs in the active payroll through payment review. I'm being specific there because just going into their DBA instructions and doing it doesn't always trigger the changes only. So let's look at the workbench, right? We've got our payrolls here. This is the greenish column here is our changes only column. And basically, if you have made a correction that affects the pay, it's going to put a 1 in the changes only column. Blank or zeros can be ignored. They don't mean anything. But when a changes only occurs, guess what? You can't move forward in your payroll. It won't let you. It's going to say, nope. And we'll show you what that looks like. But my funny story is how I didn't know the 1 was out there and I was very confused what was going on. And then we had to figure out what changed. And so if you don't know what this is or how to figure that out, we're going to talk about it when I go in and demo. So we will demo changes only in just a bit, but pay attention. This is an important note. I think this is really important. So when you're using changes only, you have to be sure you use the payroll register run that came from your reports only step after you process changes only as your report of record. That would be your report of record because the original payroll register is no longer accurate, right? The one that came out of pre-payroll. So you have to run it again after changes only and make sure it's in your reports only. And that's the one that you file. There is a register created as part of changes only, but it only includes the affected employees, which is a great thing because it runs really fast and you can see who was in the changes only. So I just want to make that note because that is an important thing you don't want to miss. So on this, again, we also have a 5-minute free video on your HCM Hub. Actually, I think Deanna, you did that one. So you're welcome to go out and see that.
There's also, I think, a document out there for it as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's in the boot camp, though.
You're right. You're probably right. It's probably in the boot camp.
So what are the time-saving advantages? The obvious one is, hey, resetting your entire payroll can really lose valuable time. So it allows you to correct only the employee records needing the correction and then rerun. Also, it allows you to make changes on the fly rather than have to run corrections later. Because how often have you said, we'll just get them next time, or we'll fix it, send them an interim check. A pro tip, I thought of this when I was putting this together, because if you're in a jam and simply need to remove an employee from the payroll, like say one of your terminated guys got in there and shouldn't have, there is a reset employee, which is an alternative. There's a way to do that where you reset one or selected employees from the workbench, but using this requires that you rerun the payroll register during reports only again, so you have the correct totals on your report. You have to be methodical if you use this, because guess what? There's no warning when you say reset an employee, so beware. I'll demo that as well. Don't let me forget, Deanna, to demo that. So first, let's see some other cool stuff before I go in and demo. I don't know how many of you like cats, have a cat, hate cats, but they make me laugh. This one was funny. All right. So our next topic is payment review, which can tie in closely with your changes only, and you'll see why here in a minute. So payment review is off of your workbench again. After you've run the payroll, you can come in here, select the payment review. Here is the screen it'll take you to, and it defaults to the payments with gross or net amounts. And it'll, at the bottom, I've only got 2 employees in this example, but it gives you the totals. So for those of you that are reconciling to your time totals and all that, this is an easy place to get it. You can also see possible errors here. So this is where I highlight all payments, and what it might show you there is, you've got, one of your employees that's on leave, but they're still getting benefits. So the benefits are getting processed and either put in arrears, or they're going to be on the deductions not taken report because they're still actively in the payroll, but there's no payment, if that makes sense. So those are good to check on here as well. And you can export or filter on various values to verify your calculations. So, it happens a lot, right? You've got someone you're processing in your payroll, and they're having a special payment this time or some special DBA. You want to make sure it worked. You can pull them up here. Now, another powerful aspect, you can view or make corrections to your employees using from the payment review screen. So we're still in the payment review screen. And from the employee record, you can now go into these various exits for distribution review. So are they getting a check, auto deposit, both? You can verify their account information. Time card detail, you can go in there. DBA review, your tax detail for the payment, their stub detail. You can also go to their employee master, and instead of opening up another screen to go look at that employee because something doesn't seem right or you're trying to figure out what happened, you can go right into the employee master. And then prevailing wage, if you happen to use that functionality, you can also see those prevailing wage calculations here. I will say the 2 things that the 3 things that can really save you time is the distribution review. If you're needing to verify that accounts are correct for an employee, did they come through okay on their auto deposits? And then time card detail and DBA review, you can actually make corrections here, which will then generate a changes only. So let's go ahead and get in there. I'm going to look at some records, correct a time card. I'm going to correct a DBA. I'm going to give someone a bonus, and we're going to try to reset a single employee. So a lot of things I'm going to try to do here. All right, I'm going to use my hourly one. And we're going to go ahead and look at the payment review screen. And, we forgot to give James his bonus. And this is kind of a big deal. So I need to go in here, and instead of resetting the whole payroll, I'm going to go to his time card. And we've got the record. This is open. I could actually adjust this as well if I wanted to. But note, if he was a salaried employee, this is not available to change. So I come in here. I know my type 500. I will still need a work date. And then we're going to go to lump sum and give him. Now notice, even though as I'm in this record, we don't have any way to save it yet. You have to literally leave that row to get the save button. So I'll save it, come back here, do a find. Nope, nothing has changed. Well, why not? You probably know this already because we just created a changes only. So let's go look at the payroll ID. As you know, you've got to always refresh the screen. So there we are. Changes only is noted here. I'm not going to run it yet though, because I do want to do a couple other things in the payment review. I want to make sure that James O'Malley, we're going to look at his distribution review. He's getting a check. He no longer has the auto deposits. But if you had auto deposits in here for an employee, this is kind of nice because you can verify that these account numbers came in okay. It's just a quick check. But we do have to look at his DBAs because he missed a payment. I forgot to get that in there in the overrides. So I am going to come in here and notice this is the DBA review screen. So there's no way to update these. These are not updatable fields. But if I go here and I click on DBA detail, voila, it opens up for me. So I'm going to go ahead and take a double deduction and save this. And do a find. Okay. So you may have noticed when I was in there, there was an MP value that came up, a manual. That's so you know that was changed manually. This was not calculated by the system. So that's helpful to know. All right. So we've got a correction on him. And now we're going to run changes only because I've got two guys I fixed. And we're going to go to this. Now notice, say I want to come in here and run journals. Hello, there's no way to do it. Even though the pre-payroll is done. This is what I'm talking about. It's not going to let you run payments. It's going to say reset. So we now have a changes only off of the submit button. And that's where, again, if you lose sight of this, I've worked with clients that have people touching the system while they're trying to run payroll and they didn't make the change themselves. So it's confusing, but this is how you figure it out. You come out here, and if there is a changes only, we're going to run it, and that's going to identify your people that are in the changes only. So you see the driver for changes only is running. Payroll's back at a status of A, and it will only be running specific people.
Tammy, this is also your 10-minute check.
I was just noticing that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go to payment review. And we can see he now has the new amounts in here. And we can go verify his time card detail. There it is, processed. And then for James O'Malley, we can go in here and do the DBA review. And there it is. As mentioned, you can look at the payroll register to get an idea of, let me make sure I open the right one. On your payroll register, you're going to see just those 2 employees. Okay. So you've got to make sure you run the, this has a long summary. Yeah, there's James O'Malley. So you've got to be sure you run your reports again in reports only step. All right. So real quick, let's say Jody is not supposed to be in this payroll. This is where you can actually come out here and see the reset employee. Look, didn't give me a warning, nothing. It literally does reset her immediately. Boom, she's gone. So she's no longer in the payroll. Again, you'd need to rerun the payroll register to get your final numbers. But those are some what I consider to be time savers in the workbench, because I don't know if there was anything new you learned, but when I saw some of the power behind these row exits, it really excited me. So
Tammy, might be putting you on the spot. It's actually my question. Do you have any idea if there's a way for someone to tell that somebody was reset? Like if somebody accidentally clicked that, they were going for a different line and they clicked that. Like there's no warning, like you said, for them to say, are you sure? Okay. So is there any way for someone to tell if someone magically disappeared?
it would probably have to be looking at the that wonderful lockout code for the employee record and see, let's see, they wouldn't be in there. I don't know. Yeah, you put me on the spot, D. I don't know that answer.
I'm going to look that one up for
I could
myself.
get creative though. We could get creative. Maybe someone in the listening side knows how to do that. I would definitely look at all the tables that were possibly updated to pull them out of the payroll.
Yeah.
And there might be, I didn't see it. I didn't see a UBE run over here for the reset of that.
I could just easily see that someone coming to us and being like, help, they disappeared. I don't know why, and trying to figure out.
Oh, look, here it is.
Oh, excellent. So there was a driver that was run.
There is a driver. I just don't know. And it's the 300. So it's probably updating, like I said, the FO7 300, but it doesn't look like it generates a report.
Yeah. But they could at least see that ran maybe. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back here. Go ahead and kick off this poll real quick. I know we're coming to a close, but I wanted to just ask, hey, how would you spend a bonus if you received one? I know personally, if I were to receive a bonus, I'm going to put it toward travel. I'm definitely going somewhere. I think we were all pandemic long enough, and we just maybe need to go see the world. Okay, I'm going to give a quick summary on the time-saving advantages of payment review while you tell us how you would spend your bonus. So easily reviewing your payment and hour totals for reconciling, I think that's helpful. Easily see who is included in the payroll but has no gross or net pay. I think that's super helpful. Accessing your time card and DBAs like I did to verify or make corrections on the fly. I will caution you. I mean, I don't know what users are on this call and what your authorities are, but I would tell you, please, please, please do me a favor. Don't just start using this stuff. Test in a lower environment. I can't emphasize that enough. I probably should have said that earlier. Some of these tips and tools are great, but if you haven't tested it and make sure you know what to expect, you could really hose up something in production. Easy access to the employee master is directly off of there. You can verify auto deposit accounts also through distribution review, which I know that can be handy when you've put in a new one and you just want to make sure it's on the payment record correctly. So best time savers from the payroll workbench. We basically got through our whole agenda, and we hope you found some helpful time-saving tips from this webinar. I like this little meme, maybe watching a meme when you should be working. But I would like to even invite you, if you have ideas of other payroll topics that would interest you, we are doing monthly webinars and would love to make sure we're hitting the mark on what is needed out there in our community. And again, an invitation to go to the JDE HCM Resource Hub that we designed for people like you who need a resource that's understandable and current. Payroll is processed, class dismissed. Any other comments or questions come through, Dee?
Just that they definitely want payroll journals to be a webinar topic.
Okay.
Yep, but we've got claps. They did finish the poll. The most people in that last poll would go on a shopping spree. So,
Ooh, awesome. Haha, loving it. Clapping the hands. This is so fun. Well, the payroll journals will definitely figure that one out. I will just probably say it's going to be a series because to really dig in, or it's going to be an extended webinar. That would be a good thing to know too, if an extended webinar is something you'd have time for, or the shorter ones better for you. Because we can make it almost like a working session. So thank you for that feedback. And I just want to thank everybody who's here for joining us today. Don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like to learn more about our various services. Any way we are here to help. Seriously, I've been in the industry now over 28 years, and it's the most value is when we are working together and helping each other. So thank you again. And if there's no more, I'm going to end the webinar.
all right, thank you.